Well, hello, I'm Topher Field and I'm back with my marbles, this time to explain how the preferential system works in the upper house, the Senate. Last video I talked about the lower house. There's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences. The first thing you need to know about the Senate is that there's not one seat up for grabs in each electorate, there's actually 6 in each state. So that means West Australia, South Australia, Tasmania, Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland. There are 6 seats up for grabs at the next election in each of those. And that matters. In fact, it actually changes everything about how the election works. The marbles represent the first preference votes, of course. And what I've got here is what I think is a fairly representative sample of what a fictional election might look like in any state in Australia. Here I've got the Liberals with a bunch of votes, Labor with almost as many votes, I've got the Nationals with a bunch of votes, the Greens just diminishing a little bit over time. I've got 4 different freedom-friendly minor parties. Now, who are these guys? These are the guys that I'm going to be voting for, and I want to talk about how we can all vote for all of them, not just one of them. But these include guys like the Liberal Democrats, the UAP, One Nation, GAP, IMOP, A1. There's a bunch of them, right? And it's not about picking one, it's about supporting them all for reasons that will become very, very obvious as we go through this video. And then here we've got all the other guys that have run in the Senate ticket. What happens with the Senate is you don't need to get 50% plus 1 of the votes the way that you do in the lower house. No. There are 6 seats available in each electorate. Each state is its own electorate. What that means is you only need 1/6 of the votes. That's called a quota. You get 1 quota, you get 1 Senate seat. You get 2 quotas, you'll get 2 Senate seats. So what we can see here is the Liberals actually already have enough for at least 1 Senate seat. So let's look at how that works. The Liberals here, this is all the first preference votes. No preferences have been distributed at this point in time. The Liberals here, nice and easy. Clearly, they have at least 1 quota. Bang! The Liberals have already got themselves 1 senator in this hypothetical election. But there's a bunch more votes left over. So let's see. Yeah, starting to look to me like they've got themselves 2 senators with votes to spare. So 2 Senate seats in this particular state, this hypothetical election, have already gone to the Liberal Party just on first preferences. Let's see what happens with Labor. Whoop. Yep, definitely. Labor. Alright, once again, just a handful left over. So Labor have 2 Senate seats already with some extra votes left over. Now I know that the Nationals don't quite have enough, neither do the Greens or anybody else, of course. So there are 2 Senate seats up for grabs. But here's what happens. These guys are still in the running for another one. But I can have a look here and say, right, I can see how many first preference votes that the Labor Party still have, and they belong just here. In the running for the remaining Senate seats. That's where Labor are right now. In the running for the remaining Senate seats, the Liberals are going to be, oh, so close. They're going to be just here. So we can see that these parties already have 2 seats each, but they have remaining votes that mean they're still in the running to pick up perhaps a 3rd seat each. But the front runners right now are the Nationals and the Greens. You see how that works? They've used these votes to get these. They're still in the running for the remaining ones, but they would still have to get another quota in order to get another seat. So right now we have our front runners, the Nationals and the Greens. Presumably you would think that they're probably going to pick up the remaining 2 Senate seats. But watch what happens. The process from here is pretty much the same because there's no one left with a full quota. The process from here is the same as it is in the lower house. What we do is we go through a process of eliminating the party with the fewest number of votes and distributing those votes to the preferences of the voters. Now, a point that I didn't make in the last video is it's not about party preferences. The parties don't have preferences anymore. They can put their preferred next candidate on their how to vote card, but it is all up to you and what you write on your ticket. So when you get that huge Senate ticket, and you write 1 above the line next to the party or in front of the party that you like the best, and then you write 2 in front of the party that you like next best, That's your second preference. You are dictating where your vote goes. And under the current Australian electoral system, that is the only way that a vote's preferences are decided, purely by what you write on your ballot. That's a very important detail. So here we have a bunch of votes that went to a bunch of minor parties that ran in the Senate. Now this bucket actually represents a bunch of different parties. And so of course the preferences are going to go in a bunch of different directions, because some of these votes were for maybe an energy party, some were for a legalised cannabis party, some were for a Greens animal rights type party, etc. So presumably the voters would have sent their second preferences off in all sorts of different directions. I'm going to say one of them went there, probably one of them went to the Liberals, certainly probably more than one of them went to the Greens, maybe a Nationals in there, and where's Labor gone? Oh yeah, I already put one in Labor. Perhaps one of them preferenced a freedom-friendly minor party. The point is, those votes just went from the number 1, which got eliminated, to the respective number 2 of each of those individual voters and where they decided that their vote was going to go. Now what we have here is a situation where we've distributed the preferences, but that didn't really change the order at all. No, nothing changed, no parties need to be swapped at this point in time, so now we eliminate the next lowest. Now it so happens, because Labor doesn't have much of a quota left over, that it's actually the Labor Party that get eliminated. It's not that they lose the 2 Senate seats they already had, it just means they're no longer in the running for any of the remaining Senate seats. Now I'm going to assume that someone who votes for Labor is probably going to have given a fair bit of preferences to the Greens. A fair percentage of Labor voters would put their preference to the Greens before they put it to anybody else. But you know what? A few would put their preferences towards freedom-friendly minor parties, and perhaps 1 or 2 would even put their preferences towards the Nationals, because remember, it's individual. Each person is doing it for themselves. Once again, the order hasn't really changed here. Or has it? Ah yes. I can see that actually this freedom-friendly minor party picked up just enough votes to actually get over the top of the Liberal Party here, now in the running on preferences. So the Liberal Party get bumped down. Doesn't really make a difference because there's already one other one that needs to be eliminated first. But that's what happens. As these preferences accumulate, the order gets shuffled around, and the smallest number of votes always sits with the party that gets eliminated next. So this is one of the freedom-friendly minor parties. It's unfortunate, but it's going to happen. This could be any one of them. I don't really care which one it is. It just so happens that they're the one that has the least. They get eliminated next. But here's the difference. The people voting for the freedom-friendly minor parties watched this video. That means if you're voting for United Australia Party, for One Nation, for Liberal Democrats, for A1, IMOP, GAP, any of these guys, understand this. Don't just vote for your one favourite freedom-friendly minor party and then vote number 2 for a major. That's insane. Vote for all of the freedom-friendly minor parties before you vote for any of the majors, if you vote for them at all. So what that would mean is that this freedom-friendly minor party, all of their preferences, if their voters have done the right thing, are going to go to other freedom-friendly minor parties. Doesn't matter which one. Again, I'm not barracking for one over the other, but just, there you go. All of those votes are now sitting inside other freedom-friendly minor parties, and that's the key. So let's have a look. How are we doing? Look, I think that might have swapped these 2. Doesn't matter who they are. They just had to swap. One of them just picked up a few more preferences than the others. And there we have it. The Liberals are the next to be eliminated under this hypothetical election. So, we remove the Liberals. We chase the marbles. Now, I'm going to assume that a Liberal voter will typically have preferenced the Nationals quite heavily. So, I'm going to say a whole bunch of their votes are going to go into the Nationals over here, getting them quite close to a quota, but not quite all the way there. Then a handful of Liberal voters will have thrown their votes into various freedom-friendly minor parties. Maybe they went number 1 Liberal, number 2 Liberal Democrats, or One Nation, a UAP, whoever it might be. So there you go. Okay? That's the situation now. Now remembering, these 4 seats are still already allocated. 2 belong to Labor, 2 belong to Liberals. They can't be taken off them. But both Labor and Liberal have now been knocked out of the running for the remaining seats in this hypothetical scenario. Still, the front runners very clearly are the Nationals and the Greens, with a couple of freedom-friendly minor parties sitting in the minor placings at the moment. But here's where the magic happens. Another freedom-friendly minor party has to get eliminated because they have the fewest remaining votes vying for the remaining Senate seats. Fine. But once again, chasing my marbles, Once again, those voters watched this video and they made sure that their second preference, or maybe even their third preference by now, because remember, some of the votes have already gone from one of the earlier freedom-friendly minor parties, got eliminated. Some of them went into another freedom-friendly minor party that's now being eliminated again. And their votes are moving down to those voters' third preferences. And they might move to the fourth soon, fifth, sixth. All of them actually matter. The point is, all of these end up in these two remaining freedom-friendly minor parties because those voters did the right thing with their preferences. That doesn't actually change the order. We've got Nationals with the most. They're pretty close to a quota. They've almost got a seat in their own right. Then we have the Greens. They're a bit of a way off. Then we have one freedom-friendly minor party, they're even further off, and another freedom-friendly minor party even further off. Who's going to get it? Well, it still looks like these two. But hang on a second, because the next one to get eliminated is here. Once again, a freedom-friendly minor party. All of their voters watched this video and all of their voters did the right thing and made sure they preferenced all of the freedom-friendly minor parties before they preferenced anybody else. And here, all of a sudden, we have a magic moment where because all of these voters preferenced each other, all of the freedom-friendly minor parties preferenced each other, now as those votes gather, all of a sudden, they overtake the Greens. There's 3 left. And instead of the freedom-friendly minor party being last, which they would have been if people had just voted for them and then preferenced the Liberals, preferenced the Labor, preferenced one of the major parties, because they did the right thing, all of those votes have now gathered into one. I don't care which one, but it's there. And now it's the Greens that are next to be eliminated from this Senate race. Where their votes would go out of these two is anybody's guess. Where would the Greens have put the Nationals? Where would the Greens have put the freedom-friendly minor parties? Well, it's impossible to know. But one of the curiosities of the way the Senate works is it's possible for votes to become exhausted. So what that means is, let's take this voter here. This particular vote, they put number 1, the Greens, and they put number 2, Labor, and then they put number 3, an Animal Justice Party, and then a Transport Matters Party, and then who knows, okay? By the time their primary vote was eliminated, which it has been right now, all of the other ones are already gone. Their number 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6 are already gone. That means that their vote no longer counts. It is literally eliminated, exhausted, out of the count. Now, in a situation like this, I imagine that would happen quite a lot. Quite a few of the Greens' votes simply wouldn't flow to the Nationals or to any of the freedom-friendly minor parties. I'm going to say a few do, but overwhelmingly, the vast majority of Greens voters in their top 6 wouldn't have put either of these parties, and therefore those votes actually end up off to one side, not being used at all. And therefore, we have only 2 left standing. There are 2 seats, there are 2 parties left. Each one has almost a quota, but not quite. So close to a quota for the Nationals, but not quite. There you go, on the floor. Almost a quota for this freedom-friendly minor party, but not quite. And you say, well, where are those votes gone? Well, those are the ones that got exhausted. They're the ones that never got used. This is why preferences are important. And this is why it's so important to put all of the freedom-friendly minor parties on your ballot, voting above the line in the Senate. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, that's the minimum. But if there's more than that in your state, keep going. Include them all so that your vote isn't likely to become exhausted and is more likely to end up being useful to getting a freedom-friendly minor party senator elected in your state. So here's how this hypothetical state plays out. 2 Senate seats to the Labor Party, 2 Senate seats to the Liberal Party, 1 to the Nationals, effectively the Liberals anyway, and 1 to a freedom-friendly minor party. Now this right here, this 6th seat, I'll swap them around. This is the one that the Greens traditionally have taken in every state in Australia. For the last 20, 30 odd years, the Greens have held a bunch of Senate seats. Why? Because they keep picking up that last Senate seat where they don't even need a full quota. In fact, in theory, that last seat could be picked up with only just above half a quota. And they've done that plenty of times. They've had elections where they've only gotten 6, 7% of the vote, and they've still gotten a Senate seat because through preferences, they managed to get more than half a quota, and hey presto, there it is. They've got senators. That's how the Greens have been able to exercise so much influence over Australian politics for the last, well, as long as I've been alive. This strategy has the ability to turn that on its head and put these Senate seats into the hands of freedom-friendly minor parties. It works because we all use the Australian preferential system the way it was supposed to be used. There's a reason why we have it. This is what it's for. You vote number 1 for the people you like the most, number 2 for the next best, number 3 for the next best, 4, 5, 6. Hold your nose if you have to. I don't agree with all of these parties on everything. In fact, I've got fundamental agreements on many things with most of them. But they're better than the crop that we've got right now. And they're an awful lot better than the Greens continuing to hold the balance of power the way they have for the last 30, 40 years. So this is the strategy in the Senate. Getting that 6th Senate seat from every state into the hands of a freedom-friendly minor party. And we can do that by using our preferences wisely. My name's Topher Field. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you've learned something. The number 1 thing that I need you to do is to share this video. Make sure that other people understand what you now understand, how preferential voting works in the Senate, and how we can get senators elected from these freedom-friendly minor parties just by using our preferences intelligently. You'll find me at topherfield.net and on all the usual social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. There's a bunch of others I don't even know that I'm on. You can follow me there and I'll see you in the next video.